A bored married couple is surprised to learn that they are both assassins hired by competing agencies to kill each other.
This is Ryan.
And this is Ashley.
And this is
Ruining Our Childhood,
a nostalgic weekly podcast where a married couple rewatches and reviews our favorite 90s and 2000s movies to decide if they hold up to our adult standards.
Yeah, that's what we are.
Yes.
That's what we do here.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to another episode of Ruining Our Childhood, our last official episode of the year.
Yeah.
Of 2020.
And it can go straight to hell. Not this episode, but the year can.
I got you. So this week we are doing the 2005 classic Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It wasn't Mr. and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mr. and Mrs. what? Doubtfire?
It's a sequel.
I thought you were going to say Mr. and Mrs. Pitt.
That too. 2005.
Yeah.
It's a good year. It
It
was a year.
It was a year. I'm trying to think how old I would have been. I would have been 20.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have quite turned 21.
When this movie came out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a winner, the latest winner of our movie poll that we did exclusively on Instagram because Ashley had a shit week, let's be honest, and forgot to put it up on Facebook and Twitter.
It was a very busy week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? It worked out because a lot of people voted on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate everybody that took the time to do that.
Yeah. And it was a very close poll.
It was.
Yeah.
It was by one vote, basically.
One vote.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith won. So that means that Pineapple Express will move on in the loser bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And as we mentioned in last episode, all of the next round will be starting in 2021.
Yeah. And Pineapple Express has got a big matchup against Jack coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be not coming soon. Probably in like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 4 weeks in January.
So,
February then?
Yeah. It'd be like Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we hope you all had a nice and healthy and safe Thanksgiving, by the way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's head down memory road, and why don't you hit me with some 2005 facts?
Yes. This movie was released on June 10th of 2005. It had a budget of $110 million, and it grossed $487 million. Popular TV shows from 2005 include Grey's Anatomy, Without a Trace, and Dancing with the Stars. The number one song of the week the movie came out was We Belong Together by Mariah Carey. A couple other popular songs were Kanye West featuring Jamie Foxx, Gold Digger, and also Mariah Carey, Don't Forget About Us.
Mariah Carey had a good year.
She did.
2005.
Some popular movies were Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
You're waiting for me to say it, aren't you?
What?
A good year for cinema.
You do say that a lot.
I do.
Yeah. So, 2005, as you established just a little while ago, year 20.
Yep.
I just moved to Arizona.
Oh.
Right before this came out. A couple months before this came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember if I saw this in theaters. I might have.
Okay.
Because I was pretty much... That's like the one thing I felt like I could do. Was go see movies.
Would you go by yourself?
Yeah. When I first moved here, growing up where I grew up, you had to travel a little bit to get to places, right?
Yeah.
Like movie theaters, the mall, food. So when we moved here and I was like, there's things from me 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would go to the movies by myself.
It was weird to grow up over here on this side of town because when I was in my early teens, we would have to drive a good distance to get to a theater. But then the older I got, all of a sudden, all these movie theaters started popping up on our side of the town, which made it super convenient. I think the one was like 2 miles from my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's something that you probably take for granted when you always have grown up in a place that has all these things very close by. But when you grow up in a place like I did, and then you're like, this is so nice.
Yeah.
This is so convenient.
For sure.
Anyway, I honestly can't remember. I might have saw this with my dad too, because I did go to the movies quite a bit with my dad at the time. Again, I had no friends. So I had just started working at this point too.
So
when this came out.
This would have been right when I probably met you then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still didn't have any friends. I feel like I didn't have any like concrete friends until like the end of that summer. Like I had acquaintances and I was invited to a couple parties and I'd go to them, but I didn't have any like good friends. And well, honestly, probably not until like a year after I started working there, where I felt like I had somebody that I constantly was friends with and we'd hang out. And then me and you started dating basically. So.
And you hit the jackpot.
Yeah, I did.
I remember seeing it in theaters, but I don't really remember who I saw it with. I would assume it was my brothers or some friends, because that's usually who I went to the movies with.
You didn't go to the movie with strangers?
No, I didn't. But I remember this was a movie I was very excited to go see. I think I started becoming a pretty big Brad Pitt fan at this time.
Yeah.
And I was not very familiar with Angelina Jolie.
Like her work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like a movie here or there that she was in, but I never went like, oh, Angelina Jolie's in this? I have to go see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Same.
But I do remember enjoying the movie.
Yeah. I remember when this movie was being filmed because obviously it was a big news story when Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt broke up.
Yes.
Like it was earth-shattering. In a time where it wasn't even really like an internet story or anything like that. It was tabloid. It was like the prime of tabloid stories.
And it was pictures of these two actors on set.
Yeah.
Getting a little
too
snuggly.
Friendly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do remember when this movie came out thinking like, well, I love Jennifer Aniston. I do not want to see this movie.
Oh.
But at the same time, it looked funny from the trailer. So, you know, I probably still end up going to see it.
See, and I remember also kind of being the same way, but I didn't pick a side between Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. I picked a side of Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston versus Angelina Jolie, and I just went, I won't go see her stuff outside of this.
That's a good plan, I guess. I also was never a huge like Brad Pitt fan as far as thinking that he was attractive. And I think it's only because I was a little too young when he was like considered a heartthrob.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know if we talked about this when we did Interview with Vampire. He is very good looking, but in the 90s, he had always had like long hair, and I was never a big fan of that as far as being attracted to it. But as I've gotten older, I started to like his work and appreciated him as an actor. And he's good looking, but I never was like a seek out a Brad Pitt movie because I thought he was hot, or Angelina Jolie movie because I thought she was hot. And
I can agree, because I never seeked out any of her movies, but him, on the other hand, he's good looking. Yeah. And I always, like you mentioned, the Oceans, and I really like the movie The Mexican.
Yeah.
With him and Julia Roberts. So that's when I saw he had some comedic timing.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about him. So, do you think this film is going to hold up?
I'm going to say yes. I remember really enjoying it, and to the point when it came out on DVD, I bought it, and I've seen it a few times, but I have not seen it in years. But I think it's going to have some good action sequence, and I think it's going to be funny. Okay. I'm hoping that it doesn't have too much cringiness to it. What about you?
I agree it's going to hold up, because I think the leads are strong actors, and I remember the plot of this movie, but I don't remember anybody else in it or anything, like any side plots or any... I just know that they're spies that don't know that they're spies.
Yeah.
And they're married. So how does that happen? I don't know. Coincidence?
Yeah.
Who knows? I guess we'll find out. But I do think it's going to hold up, and I'm hoping there aren't any cringeworthy jokes. I think I'm a little worried about the action sequences because this movie is 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They might not be as good as we remember, but hopefully they are.
That's a good point.
I feel like I have a really vague answer.
It seemed to have a really high budget.
Yeah, that's true.
So hopefully that's where they put their budget.
Like, it's not a bunch of green screen or something.
Yeah.
I do remember, like, a desert scene.
Yeah.
And there actually are in a desert, so I guess that seems like it will hold up, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
That I'm hoping for some, like, nice dated clothing.
Oh, yeah.
And furnishings in their home.
Ooh, and because it is a spy film, like, really ultra-tech stuff that looks like dinosaur stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be that. But I do think overall it will hold up.
Okay.
And I probably haven't seen this movie since... we probably watched it together.
Probably.
After we started dating.
I would say so.
Yeah. Who knows? Again, my memory is not what it used to be.
Neither is mine. Where can you stream this?
You can't. I'm just kidding. You can rent it and buy it, but it looks like it's not on any Netflix or Hulu or anything like that. So, sucks to be you. I don't get it. Sometimes I feel like we pay all this money for like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO Max. We don't really pay for that, but and half of these movies that we don't own aren't on there. We do own this though.
Yes, we do.
So that works out for us.
Yeah.
But still, I have a gripe.
I have a bigger gripe when, okay, not only can I not find it on any of my services that I have a subscription, it's when I can't just rent it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still kind of flabbergasted when it comes to Airheads.
You're flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted. Oh, my.
You're like actively flabbergasted. I don't think that's not a thing. No, I agree. It's weird to me.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. We're living in the future right now. We should have everything.
But it is 2020, so just blame it on that.
Out of everything that's happened this year,
Yeah.
them not having Airheads is the worst thing that's ever happened to us.
It's top 10.
No.
No, it's not.
We both think it's going to hold up.
Mm-hmm.
In case you forgot, because we just rambled on for another 10 minutes. Just kidding. So we'll go ahead and hit that.
Pause.
Go watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith and come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And we're back. We just finished watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and we're going to go ahead and break down our movie with our categories.
Like we always do.
And our first category is Well, Hello There.
Well, hello there.
Where we talk about any cameos of famous or recognizable actors or actresses that we forgot were in the movie.
There's actually quite a few, and I was pleasantly surprised. But I do not really remember much of this movie, so actually not that surprising. We can go over the main cast of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. We talked about them before we went on our break. Brad Pitt plays John Smith, and Angelina Jolie plays Jane Smith.
Yes.
So.
And we hope you know who Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are.
Yes, they're very famous.
Yes. But who was your first non-main castie?
The first one is Adam Brody. He plays Benjamin. And you know Adam Brody from The O.C. More recently, he was on Single Parents, and he has a new movie out this year called The Kid Detective, which we just watched the trailer for, and it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So. Yeah, I always kind of forget he was on Single Parents with his wife.
Yeah. Leighton Meester.
Yeah.
And he was on an episode of New Girl. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got some good comedic timing.
Yes.
That one. My first one was the character of Eddie, played by Vince Vaughn.
Yes.
He's basically Brad Pitt's best friend and business partner. And we know Vince Vaughn from Old School and Swingers, and he was also, more recently, the big thing he was in was Fighting With My Family.
Yeah.
With Florence Pugh.
Pugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
My next one is Kerry Washington, which was a like a whoa
Yeah.
for me. I love me some Kerry Washington. She plays Jasmine, who is basically the Vince Vaughn equivalent to Angelina Jolie's character. And obviously, Kerry Washington is from Scandal.
Yes.
Olivia Pope. And more recently did Little Fires Everywhere with Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been meaning to watch that, and we have not.
We haven't.
We need to do that.
We suck.
My next one is the character of Martin, who is John and Jane's next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And he is played by Chris Weitz, and he's more of a writer. He wrote the movie About a Boy and Star Wars Rogue One, but he also is the male voice on the porn tape in American Pie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he was a producer for American Pie and American Pie 2, so.
Yeah. Like you pointed out, he has done a lot of really well-known things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next one is, it was a brief part, but it was just a secretary at Benjamin's office. She's played by Mary Cheatham, and she was in The Wedding Singer, so I'm pretty sure we've talked about her before. And more recently, Heart of Dixie, and she's been in a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Who is your next one?
My next one was the voice of Father, and that was Keith David. Keith David was in They Live, the cult classic John Carpenter movie. Was also on Community, and Dr. Facilier's voice in The Princess and the Frog.
Yes, and he just has that great voice.
I was going to say, just a soothing voice.
I was reading, so, like, his character is basically Jane's boss, and they just get their jobs from this person on the other line. Almost like a...
Bosley? Almost?
Like a Charlie.
Yeah.
Bosley.
Oh, Charlie.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank
Bosley,
you.
we see. Charlie, we don't.
Yeah.
But John also has a boss, and it's a female voice. They never show her, but it's Angela Bassett.
Yeah.
I guess I was reading that both of those characters were supposed to be seen at some point, but they cut for time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I want to say, I was reading trivia that in one of the original trailers, they actually show Keith David saying a line.
Okay.
But obviously, he's not in the movie at all. Like, seen.
Yeah.
Physically.
That's interesting you would cut Angela Bassett from your movie.
Right?
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My next one. Well, I guess that was mine, Angela Bassett, so you can go
Okay.
ahead.
My next one is the character of Jade, who is one of Jane's, what would you call them? Like her
coworkers? Or
Okay.
it seems like she's kind of the higher up. Out of anybody that's seen, it's like her and then Kerry Washington's character, and then it's just like the rest of them.
Yeah. So she's one of Jane's coworkers. It is Jennifer Morrison, who was on Once Upon a Time. I'm not sure the character name that she played, but she was the main star.
I think Emma?
Emma. There you go.
Does that sound right?
That sounds correct.
Okay.
And then more recently, she's been on This Is Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that. My next one is Michelle Moynihan, right? Moynihan?
Yeah.
She plays Gwen, who just has a very small part. She's kind of like Brad Pitt's character's IT person.
Yeah.
Or kind of like a hacker in a way. She is more famously known as, I can't remember her character name in Mission Impossible.
Ethan Hunt's wife. I cannot think of her name either.
And then more recently, she was in the Craft Legacy, which is the sequel, I guess.
And I saw she's on that TV show Messiah with last week's person, Philip Baker Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Who's your next one?
My next one is the character of Jessie. It's another one of Jane's coworkers. She is played by Perry Reeves. I recognized her as Vince Vaughn's wife from Old School.
Vince Vaughn's wife or Will Ferrell's wife that he gets married to?
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was
so
just
she
thinking
is
about
Frank the Tank's wife.
Yeah.
Also played Jeremy Piven's wife on Entourage. And more recently, she was on the TV show The Affair with Joshua Jackson.
Oh, okay. The last person that I have is another one of Angelina Jolie's coworkers who apparently it's just a bunch of slightly recognizable actresses. Stephanie March. The one thing I know her from mostly is Law & Order SVU.
Yes.
She played their DA for quite a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to look up what she's been doing since.
Not a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I looked her up and I was like, okay, so ADA Cabot, gotcha.
Yeah.
I had two more.
Oh, go ahead.
They go hand in hand in an action movie, and that is the legendary Juggy the Oil Drum makes an appearance underneath the Smith's house and blows it up. And then also the legend, low-flying helicopter, little LFH, appearing during during the last portion of the movie when they are at the hotel with
You're right.
Benjamin Dans, and then also at the home goods store where they have a shootout. Yeah. So.
I was thinking they do have a helicopter in the desert scene.
Yeah.
But it wasn't low flying. It was regular flying.
That was the correct flight of a helicopter. Low flying came in flying about 10 feet above a building.
Right.
As helicopters do.
Right.
So.
That's all I had. Do you want to take a quick break?
Yes.
And then we'll come back and hit up the next category?
Sounds great.
And we're back. And the next category is called Kids Would Call It a Throwback. We call it the prime of our teens, where we talk about fashion, dated references, and offensive jokes. What did you notice as far as fashion?
Fashion, there was some sweet sweater vests rocked by John Smith during multiple scenes.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're as popular as they once were.
No, I'm pretty sure, I felt like both of them were rocking a lot of preppy, suburban, kind of boring, because they're trying to play it off like they're just this normal couple, even to each other, obviously. I definitely noticed that in Jane's character, which it kind of makes sense that she's supposed to be coming off as this kind of boring woman, because she's actually, quite the opposite.
Yeah.
You know?
She lives quite the exciting life,
right?
And not the suburban housewife.
Right. Yeah. Did you notice anything else?
You mentioned the desert scene.
Uh-huh.
Brad Pitt's character is kind of out there riding like a four-wheeler, and he gets off the four-wheeler, and he's wearing this hat that was very weird looking in the sense that the bill wasn't flipped up, like the whole bill, but just the very end of the bill on his hat was turned up.
His whole presence in that scene reminded me of him pretending to be Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
Yes. It's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
He just says, like in Vegas Vacation, he lives out in the desert. Yeah. He catches snakes for fun.
Yeah. Basically.
Gotcha.
The only other thing I really had in this category is when you mentioned that they have kind of it's actually the end scene. I didn't realize until the movie basically ended. When they're having the final fight scene in the Cost Mart, and they're both wearing matching yellow sunglasses. And I just felt like that was pretty dated.
Yeah.
And also, why are you wearing yellow sunglasses in a dark store to shoot out a bunch of assassins?
Great point.
I guess they looked cool. That's about it.
I don't think they looked cool.
Well, they didn't look cool now in 2020, but in 2005, they probably looked sleek and cool.
Yeah, I guess.
You're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know why I could see you rocking those in 2005.
Thank you. No, I rocked Arnett's.
I don't know what those are.
Well, Google them sometime and you'll be like, yep, that's Ryan. He's a dork.
Did you have anything else?
I did not.
How about dated references or offensive jokes?
I only had one dated reference, and it was kind of funny, and that is Adam Brody's character, Benjamin, wears a Fight Club t-shirt.
Yes, in the scene where they kidnap him to use as leverage to save their own lives.
Yeah.
It's a good reference.
And I totally bought a Fight Club shirt after seeing this movie.
It was because of this movie?
I had never seen one until this movie, and obviously I love the movie Fight Club.
Right.
So I went home and found one online and bought it and rocked it.
You're so Adam Brody.
Yeah. But that was the extent of my dated references.
That's funny. The whole gist of Eddie is pretty dated. Eddie is Vince Vaughn's character. He is that annoying best friend. If this was a romantic comedy, which some would argue that it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's a romantic action comedy.
Yeah.
He is that annoying best friend who always calls your wife a bitch.
Yep.
And everything that came out of his mouth was dated.
And offensive.
Yeah. At one point, when John first figures out that his wife is an assassin, they're at the diner, they're just talking, him and Eddie, and he's like, "You're telling me you got your ass handed to you by a girl?" Actually, it was before he found out it was Jane.
Yeah.
It was just after the desert scene, and he realized there's another assassin trying to get to Adam Brody's character, and she takes off, and he doesn't see her, but he can see that she's a female. And yeah.
No, he was a walking, dated, cringy reference.
Right.
Yeah.
So, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about in this category?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we move on, we're going to take a quick break for these messages from our friends at the Movie Chef podcast.
Do you love movies? Then you'll love the Movie Chef podcast.
Whoa, what was that?
That's my professional podcasting voice for the trailer.
Well, you sound very stupid.
Okay, well, we need to tell people that we're two movie fans who cook up movie-themed podcasts
and special episodes on Sundays.
Yeah, as well as moving menus of all our favourite topics.
And diving into internet rabbit holes.
As well as movie news and trailer reactions every Thursday.
And our sexual awakenings about Patrick Swayze.
And our sexual awakenings... Wait, what?
Listen, just tell them who we are, what we do, and where you can find us.
The Movie Chef podcast, where we make a meal out of movies. Find us on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and more. Better?
No.
And we're back.
Are you ready to move on to the next category?
Yes.
Okay. Our next category, we're going to go ahead and get our guns that are hidden in our oven and talk about some technology.
I remember looking at you and going, they have a double oven. But I don't know if the bottom oven, which has all the guns, even works.
Yeah.
And do you think John ever noticed? Before they discover that they're both assassins, I feel like they have very traditional roles. I mean, other than she seems to be a CEO of a tech company or something, like vague.
Yeah.
But it seems like she always has dinner on the table at 7, so he doesn't do any of that. So did he even notice that?
That's a great question. He probably didn't.
Yeah. What was some technology that you noticed?
One of the pieces that I noticed was John at his office for his fake job, which is a construction.
It just said engineering.
There you go, engineering. So he has a normal office, but he pushes a button and it transforms into his assassin's office.
Yeah.
But when his computer came up, it had 2 side monitors pop out, and the whole thing is supposed to be really sleek, I would assume. But it was super clunky looking.
Oh, yeah. I kind of predicted that in the first part of our podcast, that I thought that there would be a lot of slick technology, using air quotes, that was slick in 2005, but in 2020, not so much.
Oh, and I totally agree with you. It was kind of across the board an issue that they had.
Yeah. I also noted that, excuse me, I don't know what's with my voice today. The headsets that Jane's office was wearing when they go to clear the house. Like right after they discover that John's an assassin and they go to the house to clear it and look for any weapons or any evidence, they're all wearing these like really clunky headsets.
Yeah, they weren't sleek. But I will say, I felt like later in the movie, at one point, Jane has a Bluetooth earpiece in that wasn't huge.
And then there was one point where Jasmine, Kerry Washington's character, looks like she's literally wearing ear pods, but they're silver.
Yeah. Because you even said that. You're like, are those ear pods?
But I don't know if they had like a really thin black cord and it kind of just like meshed in with her dark hair. Mm-hmm. But it looked like they were ear pods.
Yeah. Some of the other things were just the software that would appear on screen. There's a scene where John is trying to go to Jane's office once he figures out that she's an assassin.
Yeah.
And he's in an elevator. And it's the software on the computer that's tracking him just looks like shit.
Yeah.
Like the camera looks terrible. And you're going, okay, this is a movie. You could fake it.
Yeah.
And at least give us a clear picture of him in the elevator. And they don't.
That's true. And there's plenty of times where movies have done that.
Yeah.
But I guess they wanted to be a little more believable, I guess, in that sense.
That's a good point. The software probably matched up with the time, but kind of looks like crap.
Yeah, that's true. It was right after that when he's in her office and he's breaking in basically that they like go into this escape mode, the office does, and all the women have these like zip lines that they go down, and I just thought they looked kind of silly.
They did, because they like the handles looked like gigantic machine guns.
Yeah.
But also kind of neat looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's definitely one of those things that I feel like action movies now are actually a little more rooted in reality.
Yeah.
But back then, it was perfectly like, oh, that's cool, because we suspended our belief a little bit, which I guess it's harder to do nowadays.
It's kind of like back in the day, the James Bond gadgets were over the top and crazy, but now in like the Daniel Craig ones, like you said, they're very much more believable.
Because also back then, like say Sean Connery days, that was all made up. Whereas now we've come so far as a society and technology that you really have to go over the top into unbelievable.
Yeah, because a lot of it exists now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else?
That's all I had.
Okay. What about any DVD special features you want to talk about?
I did not look at there was a trailer.
There was just that pirating commercial, which is amazing. If you guys remember the pirating commercial that would come out in the 2000s, and it was telling you that you wouldn't steal a movie.
You wouldn't steal a car.
Yeah, you wouldn't steal a car. And it was like very flashy, and it looks like they used like the original Scream font from the Scream movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really dates the movie.
It really did.
Yeah.
What about song?
The song that I associate with this movie is Nothing But a Good Time by Poison.
Really?
That is the scene, again, we go back to Brad Pitt driving a four-wheeler out in the desert, and he gets out of the four-wheeler, and he just, at the end of the song, he does this weird little punch, because he's like so into the song. And I always think of being in Vegas with my brother, and he was gambling. This song came on, and at the end, I did the punch, and he hit for like $20. So then he kept making me do it. And Danny's like, can I get a Brad Pitt punch, please? And so I stood there in the casino.
Just doing it like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. 21-year-old Ryan was weird and fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What happened? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
The song I associate this movie with is the Mondo Boingo song that plays when they first meet, and it's like, you know, they're dancing in Colombia and it's all romantic and steamy, and then they kind of replay it in the final fight scene.
Yeah.
But that's by Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. I don't know if I said that right, but Joe Strummer is from The Clash.
Yeah.
So I didn't know who sang the song until just now. I mean, just when we watched this movie. So,
but we all know Joe Strummer was in The Clash, obviously.
Inside joke. Okay. Yep. Did you have anything else in this category?
I did not.
Okay. We can move on to the next category. Is it even good? Where we talk about the plot hole,
yeah, plot holes.
And the funniest and cringiest moments of this film. So the plot, basically, we've kind of touched on it, but it's these two people that meet in Colombia, of all places.
Yeah.
That looked like it was kind of in the middle of some possible war tension.
Yes.
So
Which I looked it up. They meet in Bogota.
Bogota.
Bogota. But it's a real city, and they portray it as a small, quaint village.
Yeah.
And the city of Bogota took great offense to it because, like, it's a huge city.
When I think of Colombia, that's the only city I know.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
They invited Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and the filmmakers to come visit the city so they could see what it was really like, and that it's not this little ran-down village.
Yeah. They're like, we don't have explosions every 5 seconds, guys. That's not surprising to me because I feel like so many times in Hollywood, let me just find a map,
Yeah.
point.
This is where we're going to.
We don't need to research this place at all. Let's just pretend
Yeah.
that it's a small rundown village.
No one will notice.
But anyway, this couple meets there and they go back to, is it set in New York?
I think so.
Okay. Who knows? They don't say. And they get married and they proceed to be married for 5 or 6 years.
Depending who you ask.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally realizing that they're both assassins.
Yes.
And they live this very boring marriage up until then.
But in a really nice house.
Right?
Yeah.
They both have pretty good jobs, even if you don't think that they're assassins. Their cover jobs are decent, so...
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Are you ready to get some digging done?
Yes.
Okay. So my first plot hole, and this was just kind of an issue. At one point, Jane goes to assassinate someone in a hotel in New York, and she's dressed as like a dominatrix style person. But to escape, she rappels off the side of like a 15-story building.
Right.
By attaching her little rappel thing to a carriage light that is attached to the building.
That thing would have fell off.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, those things can barely withstand the wind, let alone a person.
I mean, I know Angelina Jolie is probably like 100 pounds in this movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I'm like, come on.
That one was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a little bit of a gripe with their marriage in general.
Okay.
Because, obviously, I mean, that's the thing, right? You can't have a good marriage if you're keeping huge secrets like the fact that you're assassins from each other.
Yeah.
And that's why they're kind of on edge with each other a lot, too.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of imply that John thinks maybe Jane is having an affair because she does disappear sometimes or she has late-night jobs, which she does.
Yeah.
As
Going
an
to kill
assassin.
people.
Yeah. But he does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have a problem with just their marriage in general. And then the minute they find out that they're both assassins, they immediately think, oh, you're here for a job. My plot hole is, why would an assassin do a 6-year job? What would be the purpose?
Yeah. That
One
is
of
a
those
real
guys
long
would,
game.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's no purpose to it. You're just an assassin. You're not, one of you is not an assassin. The other person, like, has high intel information about something. You're both just assassins.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me that they would just automatically go to that, you know?
Good point. Yeah.
Thank you.
You kind of touched on it earlier when Jane and her crew zipline out of a high-rise building in New York City and go across to another building by zipline. I think that would raise some questions. You look up and you're like, oh, that lady just shot out that window. Now she's ziplining. Maybe we should notify the authorities.
And not just one lady, like 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely. Sorry, I had one that I wrote down, but then it actually got answered within the film, so I was pretty excited about that. And that was just when they reconcile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they fight each other for a good hour in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. I think in my head, I thought they were fighting against other people a majority of the movie, but it's like half and half, I would say.
I would say so.
They reconcile. They kind of realize, hey, we do like each other. We love each other. And we're going to trust that we got married because we loved each other, not for some nefarious reason.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately then they show the scene of Vince Vaughn's character, Eddie, getting offers for a hit on both of them.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, how did the powers that be, like their bosses, know that they reconciled and that's why they put the hit on him, but they actually set it up. The whole thing is a setup.
Yeah.
They put a hit on them at the beginning of the movie, and Benjamin, Adam Brody's character,
He's just
was a
pawn.
plant. Yeah.
That's a good point. Before they reconcile, they have quite the shootout in their home.
Right.
They are shooting at each other with machine guns and shotguns, and at one point, Brad Pitt disconnects a gas line, and they shoot that and blow up their kitchen.
Right.
Then they reconcile. They have sex. The cops and neighbor come to the front door after all of this.
Right.
Having worked in law enforcement, explosions are kind of a big deal.
And the fact that when they came to the door, they were both bleeding.
And cops usually don't go to a door with your neighbor who called the cops.
No. They said officers, but they actually looked more like neighborhood security to me, to be honest.
Good point.
I don't know if that was just bad costuming or if they were just supposed to be security guards,
Yeah,
you know.
but
And if
going-
that's the case, then I guess you can tell them to fuck off.
But yeah, like you said, they looked in, they're like, oh, you guys are doing some remodeling. I'm like, they're bleeding. The house is literally bombed out.
If I was a police officer, I definitely think there's probable cause to be like,
Can you
"Let's-
step outside
yeah,
and we can
let's
talk
talk
to you
about
separately? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So immediately following that, after they've reconciled, they're kind of just hanging out. And then that's when you kind of find out that they put a massive hit on these two. And now their house is just surrounded with assassins. And it ends up with them blowing up their whole entire house,
Yes.
which I would assume would be quite loud in such a close-knit community.
You would think.
But they happen to just go next door and steal their neighbor's car. And I'm like, how are their neighbors not awake?
If you play your music too loud, your neighbor will come outside half the time.
Right.
Let alone blow up your house.
Yeah.
Let me know what happens.
But they got their neighbor's minivan
Yeah.
to get away.
To go on another shootout
Yes.
where crap's blowing up, not a cop car in sight. If you get into the HOV lane when you shouldn't, a cop will be there.
That's very true. It's definitely an action movie that is older because there's no any sign of accountability as far as what the damage that they're doing throughout the city.
Yeah.
And there's nobody going, what's going on?
Just nothing. Yeah.
And we know this is a fiction movie, but if you think about a lot of action movies that you love, there's always like police chases or people that respond to massive explosions.
Yeah.
And we never see that in this film.
No, nothing.
All their stuff goes unchecked, really.
I always think about like one of the Lethal Weapons. They're like, you destroyed half a city block, and like yelling at,
Yes.
No.
Like the police chief.
yeah,
Yeah.
screaming and yelling at them, putting them on desk duty.
I mean, the only thing I can say is that they're assassins. They don't work for like the CIA or anything like that. So they don't really have anybody to answer to in that situation. But at the same time, they're just random people seemingly creating all this chaos. And there's no local authorities going,
Whoa.
what's going on?
How about you don't destroy an elevator shaft, guys?
Yeah.
Thank you.
If we know people, humans, they don't know how to mind their own business. So if somebody's driving on the freeway and you see a guy shooting out the back of a minivan, you're going to call the police.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
You're going to call the police if he swerves in front of you,
That's true. I mean,
let alone someone shooing out the back of it.
more likely that you're going to call for swerving.
Yeah. Touche. You'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, that car's swerving. I better call the cops. Is that guy shooting? He's probably got a reason. We'll figure it out later.
I'm gonna just mind my business. Just keep looking forward past this car. The whole movie is a plot hole.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I did find one line confusing, and it kind of produced a plot hole for me along the lines of their marriage. When Jane finds out that John is an assassin, she's in her office drinking, and Jasmine comes in and she tells Jasmine, hey, John's an assassin. And she's like, oh, that sucks. But Jasmine says, you don't love him, so you'll kill him. And I'm like, how do you know she doesn't love him? You guys, before this day, assumed that she just married some engineering guy
Yeah.
and that she is happy and in love. And so I was just like, did she marry him just so she could like continue being a spy without becoming noticeable anyway, because being a married woman is very, I guess that kind of plays into the women can kind of get away with things more because people don't see them as threats.
Yeah.
Which I think her character is that. She is the unassuming suburban housewife who is not a threat at all until you find out she's a threat. It's too late. You're dead.
Yeah, but you bring up a real good point as far as Jasmine going, like, you don't love him, so what's the big deal? Whereas they show you the backstory in Colombia.
Yeah.
Where they clearly have fallen in love with one another.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was very confusing to me, but I don't know if it was just a way for her to be like, you have to do what you have to do, because if he married you under false pretenses to get like some sort of intel, which again, I don't know what kind of intel she would have.
Yeah.
That takes 6 years to gather, but then I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of talking
No, but
circles.
it's another confusing and not thought out portion of the plot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the funniest lines or moments?
Yes.
What was yours?
My funniest, I thought there was a lot of good chuckles in it, but I really like when John is sent to kill somebody at a poker game.
Yes.
So he just stumbles in there like he's just a drunk, and he's dropping his money on the ground. They're like telling him to leave, and he's like, you guys don't want my money? Hits his head on the table. Then at the one point he's like, you guys don't want me to play? That's okay. Is it because I'm too hot for you? And just, he played a good drunk, funny drunk.
At one point, one of his lines, he was just like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. And I'm like, he's channeling Matthew McConaughey right now?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, is that a gun? Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. Yeah.
Mine was just their scene when they both know, but they don't know that they know. Sorry.
I don't know that you know that we know.
Yeah, just had a friends moment. But yeah, they both are at dinner, and they both suspect each other, but they haven't just come out and said, you're an assassin, I know it. Mm-hmm. And just that whole scene was really funny because it's kind of tense, and Brad Pitt has to like throw out his drink, and then he eats a piece of food, but then sees some poison in the corner of his eye, and he's just like, is my food poisoned?
Yes. Yeah.
So
no, that scene was
funny.
really well done. What was your cringiest moment?
I would say that at one point, Jane thinks that John is dead. It was after they basically crashed on the elevator. She actually didn't want to kill him, but one of her people was like, oh, we're done. Boop. And crashes the elevator, but he is not in that one. Mm-hmm. Shocker. And she's at the restaurant having a drink and crying a little. Just one single tear.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah.
And he comes up, they dance, and they're doing a tango because you can't have a spy/assassin action movie without some sort of sexy dance. Mm-hmm. And she slides down him, and he nods to this old man, like super cheesy.
Yeah. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That whole tango scene was kind of over the top because
they're like crashing into... Again, another thing that people would be like, that guy just threw his wife into the mirror.
Yeah, I was going to say, they crash into a mirror. She throws a knife at him.
Yeah.
People are going to notice.
Or she throws his knife away at
That's
the
what
wall.
it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
People notice. We people watch. We would notice these things.
Yeah. It's what we do.
Like, did you see that guy throw a knife at the wall?
My cringiest moment goes back to our good friend Eddie, played by Vince Vaughn. Uh-huh. Earlier in that scene where John is telling him that he was made, and he goes, I don't know, it was a little thing, like maybe $1.10, $1.15, and Eddie goes, maybe it was a Filipino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to say, like, she was dainty.
Well, he hadn't even said that he thought it was a female yet.
Oh, okay.
He just goes, oh, it's someone who is thinner. So he's like, maybe it's a Filipino. And I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not surprising.
Yeah. No.
That Eddie. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Going back to your cringy moment, Jane escapes the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And she had put, apparently we find out later, a bomb in John's jacket.
Yes.
So he comes outside after he chased after her, and he realizes, he's like, something's ticking. And he throws his jacket in a mailbox.
Right.
And then screams like, get away, get back. And it blows up. And I'm going, again, a mailbox just blew up.
And And I liked his little spazzy thing he did.
Yeah. His way he's like, get back. That's funny.
Yeah, no, another thing just goes unchecked.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a detective role in this movie going, this couple has been seen at numerous places where there's explosions, gunshots.
We have video of a guy throwing a jacket that apparently has a bomb into a mailbox.
That's a crime in itself.
That is a federal crime.
It's amazing. So I guess the whole gist of this movie is that their marriage isn't great because they're not honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a good marriage, you have to be honest with each other.
Go figure.
Right? And you have to be able to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely have communication problems. But they also are very toxic, I realize, in the sense that, I don't know, it's kind of weird because I'm like, the scene where they're fighting, they pull out the guns and they're shooting and then they do some hand-to-hand combat.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I was like, are we condoning domestic violence? But at the same time, I'm like, they're assassins. So they're very, I guess, matched up in a way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird.
I never kind of really thought about that because I'm going at the same time like they're trying to kill each other.
Right.
It's not like going, you didn't make a good dinner, I need to smack you around.
Right. So I guess I would say that's true until the very end of that scene when their fighting turns into sex.
Yes.
And then that's where I'm like, okay, we're kind of glamorizing this, let's punch each other, but then we're going to have great aggressive sex.
Great aggressive sex.
And that's, yeah.
It solves everyone's problems.
God. I don't know. It's definitely like, okay, they're assassins. They're trained to kill each other. So that's an element that would not happen in a normal marriage.
Yeah. No.
So,
Mm-mm.
did you have anything?
I was going to ask you if you had anything else.
No, I think that's it.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Are you ready to hand out some awards?
I am.
As always on Ruining Our Childhood, it is award season. We give out 2 awards every week, the first of which is a valedictorian to the Nicolas Cage Online School of Bad Acting. Whom did you give your award to?
I don't think this would be a shocker, but I gave it to Vince Vaughn as Eddie.
Shocking. Same.
And no, what's funny is because I felt like there's a lot of characters in this film that I could have given it to because they're not utilized well. Especially like Kerry Washington. But I do have to remember in 2005, she wasn't like this big name that she was, still taking these crappier, not well-developed character parts.
She was in Fantastic Four.
That's true.
The one that I kind of thought of that they don't really utilize is Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah.
Because she just plays like a nerdy IT person.
She's in one scene.
One scene, and it's, she's a nerd. Quick, give her some glasses so that way we know she's a nerd.
And a nose ring, so you know she's edgy.
Yeah.
But I gave it to Vince Vaughn because I felt like at this point in his career, he is pretty much a leading man.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of weird that he was in this movie as a side character. And I feel like he phoned it in a way because he's just this horrible human being, which he plays quite well. He's played it frequently in movies. I just don't think he served much purpose other than some more comedic relief. But I feel like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie did that enough.
I agree. And going back to a point that you made, he was a leading man at this point. This role makes no sense for him.
Right.
He's in Wedding Crashers probably a month later.
Right.
And I do feel like when we go back, he plays the same person in every movie. Yeah. He's kind of an obnoxious douchebag.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did you also give it to him, or did you?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
You didn't actually say that.
I said same.
Oh,
earlier.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't think you did.
I did. You're going to listen back when you edit and go, he did.
Oh, maybe you did. I don't know. But, yeah. Cool. Shall we move on?
Yes.
The next award is the
The Chamis.
The Chamis.
Chanks.
The next award is the Thomas J. Hanks Award for Exceptional Acting. Who did you give your award to?
I gave it to the 2020 Academy Award winner for Best Supporting Actor, Brad Pitt as John Smith. I thought both of the leads were pretty fun.
Yes.
The movie's a little over the top at times, but I really like even the scenes where he's being interviewed by the psychiatrist.
Yes.
Because it actually seemed real.
Right.
So he was just fun.
I also gave it to him.
Okay.
For that exact reason, I enjoyed the way his whole like approach to being an assassin is to play dumb and this unassuming jerk or idiot, I guess, in both the times they show before, the actual movie begins.
Yeah.
At first he's playing a drunk guy who's just like, I'm going to lose all my money to a poker game. In the desert scene, he's playing this, douchebaggy guy who's just driving around in a, whatever those things are called.
I don't know what to call it. Four-wheeler?
Yeah, and he just looks like a dummy. Even, Jane falls for it, thinking at first that he's just some guy in the desert driving around drunk.
Who's this idiot?
Yeah, so I liked that. Those were funny. And then he just had a lot of the funnier lines, which I realize it's because Angelina Jolie's character is supposed to be this more straight-laced person. And how she is an assassin is very efficient, obviously, because she has a higher number than him.
Yeah.
At one point they talk about it. Whereas he kind of he has to have a way to get into places, because I think if you looked at him, if he was just like a well-dressed guy, he would be a little bit, what's the word? Suspicious. Seem a little suspicious. He looks like he could, if you dressed him in a black suit, he looks like he could be working for the CIA or something. But her, being just a female in general, you can fly under the radar as an assassin, and you don't have to come up with like shticks other than, I guess, in the one scene she does use her sex appeal.
Yeah, she's definitely a little more of a chameleon.
Yeah.
And she can blend in. But like you said, the one, like, hey, check her out in her fishnets.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoyed both of them together, and I think the movie would have not really worked if they would have cast some of the other people that they were going to cast.
Ooh, who are these names?
Nicole Kidman had to drop out.
Good. No, I can't picture her in this movie.
I can kind of see her, but I think now, post like Big Little Lies, I think I could see her as in a role like that. But yeah, I don't know. It would just not be the same, I guess. Will Smith was attached at one point. There's somebody else.
That was just be easier marketing at that point. Will Smith is Mr. Smith.
That's true. There was a couple other ones. Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Okay.
Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Was attached for a while. So there's quite a few.
I could see Catherine Zeta-Jones and Brad Pitt playing the Mr. and Mrs. Smith characters.
Yeah, for
that would
sure.
work.
Kate Blanchett.
No.
Yeah, I could see it.
She was good in the movie Bandits, so I could kind of see it, I guess, now that I think about it.
Kind of worked out. And especially with their chemistry. But
Agreed.
So yeah, we both had the same awards.
Yes, we did.
It's been a while since we've had the same ones.
I was going to say, it's usually the last few months we've had different people.
That's true.
Yeah.
So now we'll answer the question, does this film hold up? And we both said it would at the beginning of the episode. What do you think now?
I think having watched it, I think it was funny and entertaining. With that said, I don't think it was a very good movie. I thought the entire third act of the movie is kind of drags on. Like after they've made each other, they've reconciled, the whole thing where they go and get Adam Brody and they're in the hotel and then they do this shootout at Costco. I just thought that Costmart, sorry. I just thought that really dragged on. And also, I mean, we had a lot of plot holes.
That's true.
While I do think it was a funny movie and it was entertaining, I don't think it was very good and I don't think it held up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that the fact that it was an entertaining movie and their chemistry really sold the movie for me, that I think it did hold up. But I will say, I agree, there was a couple of the action scenes where I felt like they were too long.
Well, and then how you told me earlier that they cut Keith David and Angela Bassett from the movie because they thought it was too long. I'm like, this was a really long movie.
I definitely think that they could have had a little more world building in the sense of like how the Assassin's world works if they would have had those characters
Agreed.
in them.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. I also feel like I didn't particularly like the ending, but
Yeah.
I also was thinking back to a line that Angelina Jolie's character says when they are tango dancing, that there is no such thing as happy endings. It's just a story that isn't finished yet. So
That
it
is
kind of
true.
ends with them killing all those assassins, but who knows? There's more coming, right?
Yeah, you would think.
But I guess the movie ends with them talking to their therapist. So in a way, there's a happy ending.
Yeah.
But
I agree with you that they have good chemistry, and I thought it was funny and entertaining. I just thought it was really long and plot hole ridden for my taste.
okay.
So
Oh, okay, Ryan. Ryan, okay. So we disagree.
yes, we do.
It's That is a rarity.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we influence each other a little too much, but
Usually you influence me, and I go, you know what? You're right. It held up, but I'm holding my ground.
okay, Ryan.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little out there. I got worked up.
I know you did. So that was it for us, guys. Like we said last week, this will be our last official episode of the year, or we might have said it earlier in this episode as well.
I think we
Who
said it
knows?
last week.
But we will be having a Christmas special. It should be out either next week or the week after. We'll let you know on our social media. That's why we have social media.
For sure.
And, of course, we'll be back in 2021 with the second round of our loser brackets.
Yes.
The Runners Club will have a bonus sode.
They got to have a Christmas one.
Yeah.
Might even be a little movie called Home Alone.
Yes, it
Yes.
will be.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be interesting. If we have our Christmas special, how are we not going to talk about Home Alone? We'll briefly touch on it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys. We hope you have a great rest of your year and happy holidays.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Here's to 2021. Hopefully
Amen.
it's better.
I was going to say, can't get
And-
much worse.
Don't say that. It could. It definitely could. So thanks again, guys. Okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.